Hey, it's CJ Miller. I'm in my apartment in Shreveport, Louisiana, across the Red River. Uh, is Bossier City, Louisiana. If you're coming to see us, passing through on your holiday or whatever, and you need some suggestions, let me know. Okay, so in this pot, I have some sliced uh, red potatoes. Red potatoes, and I've cut them in half. And the reason why I've cut them in half is because I do not want the skins to pull back or separate from the potato. Uh, that being said, if there's a piece of potato that I feel like I could cut away, maybe if there's a little eye or a little brown spot, like right here, whatever, if I'm going to cut that away when I get ready to finish the presentation, I can do that then. But while I'm cooking, if I've cut too much of that away from the red skin, it's going to peel back, and I don't want that. That's why I've cut them in halves instead of quarters. And I've let as many of the surfaces get a little brown as possible. I'm trying to get a good caramelization. So I'm going to give this a toss around. I'll come right back. So what we want is we want much of these potatoes to get this good caramelization. I don't mind if they don't all get it, uh, because a variation of color for what's going on here is going to be uh, really beneficial to this dish. So this is going to be a red skin potato that I'm going to caramelize, such as I'm doing, and then I'm about ready to pour the fluids in. I'm going to boil them down, or simmer them down basically, and then I'm going to pull them off, and I'm going to set them aside until I'm ready to go on to the next phase, which would be sweating down some kale, giving it a nice slight wilter for the kale. Uh, and this is going to be a kale and potato toss with a little bit of garlic, a little bit of mirepoix uh, vegetable blend that I reserved from the video that I did earlier. And, but all that's going to happen uh, early, mid morning on Thanksgiving. This is a lot of prep work. So I learned to do prep work because I used to be a garde manger. Now, if you don't know what a garde manger is, it's well, hang on one second. Okay, so yeah, I had to pause and clear my throat for a second. So I'm being a lot more careful with this dish because it's for company. For me, I can just have any old thing, but when company's coming, I take a lot more care. So what I was talking about, garde manger, which was one of my first jobs in a kitchen, uh, because I have had a lot of different jobs. Uh, but some of my favorite was in hospitality, and working in a kitchen was a big part of that. And so the garde manger is the person who is the guardian of the manger. That's your uh, salads, your chops, your vegetables or whatever, anything that would require um, either your prep cook, sous chef, or your head chef. If they need any sort of seasoning blends, the garde manger creates those sauces, desserts, things like any of the salads, desserts, a bunch of side dishes. That's all done basically by uh, your garde manger. If you love your entree because of the flavor, mostly who you want to thank on that is your garde manger. He creates flavor. Um, with cooperation with the rest of the team, of course. Your head chef is responsible for texture and presentation. And if you really enjoy, say, your sous chef uh, kind of does sort of the fry cooking, and then your garde manger does all this kind of stuff, the side dishes and everything like that. So, and some of those responsibilities will uh, overlap from restaurant to restaurant. Your garde manger may also be the pastry chef or the bread chef, or there may even be a separate person for that as well. Uh, but basically, in a well organized kitchen, any of the people can function interchangeably if need be. Let me put this on pause while I get the fluid into the boiler. So what I'm going to do, boil this down, and then we're going to work on the kale portion of it uh, in another video. But uh, basically, I don't know. It'll basically be you just add the kale to the butter. If you are a drinker, you can add a little white wine at that stage, and sweat your kale down. Let it get a little wilty. Don't let it get so soggy that there's no texture. Uh, but yeah, and then basically, it's going to be delicious. We're doing a few things. We're doing this, then I'm doing a cheese stuffed manicotti. I'm doing a traditional mashed potato with the gold potatoes, with most of the peel peeled away from that. I may leave just enough to give it texture, but really, um, you know, uh, I want something to be. Uh, I want there to be various dishes for various people. I want to try to appeal to a wider range of guests that are coming. Some of them are picky eaters, and I want to have some more neutral textures and things like that. So, uh, what else? Oh, the stuffing. Lots. Oh, rice. I've done a really great rice. You saw the video, or you may have. That came out really well. I got to taste it for my dinner. I had some of it. Uh, I don't know. Hang on one second. Okay, so I poured the fluid, the water in here, and you see some of the starches have clouded with the water and have given this good texture. So that's gonna, starches make their own little gluten. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a little bit of chicken flavored bouillon. About a tablespoon, give or take, whatever. Would be a heaping. I'm gonna stir this into the water, and it'll kind of make it kind of a pseudo broth. Okay, so you will not need to add sodium. Will not need to add sodium because the bouillon has its own sodium. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover this up, and I want to let this get to a good boil. When it gets to that boil, a good boiling point, then we want to reduce the heat and we want to let it simmer until these potatoes become done, but we also want them to hold their shape a little bit. One of the reasons why I left the peel, there are a couple of places on the potato that when it's done, I'm going to go in and I'm going to carve out. One or two dark spots on the peel I'll cut away, but I did not do that before this cooking portion. Now, I think I've already said this, but I'll say it again because it's very important that the red skins stay intact for the presentation of this dish. Okay? But we want it to be able, if someone wants to be able to like chop it with the edge of their fork and eat it, that's going to be great. You know, I have such a fun time when I get a chance to cook a meal for guests. And this particular Thanksgiving is going to be interesting because I'm able to pull together, and I'd say this is an accomplishment. It's an accomplishment of the person to have, the host or whatever it is. I will say this, and I'll be a little open about it. And this is not the lid for my God. I'm using the lid fits. The lid for the Rachel Ray cookware that I have fits perfectly with the Gotham steel. So those lids are interchangeable. I didn't even pay attention. I just grabbed the lid. Um, oh, goofy me. Okay, so, but that's great. See, that's my point. Elements that come together in a social setting that normally wouldn't mix can make for fascinating and interesting conversation. If it's just the same group of people, all you're gonna do, or all we would do, is sit around and have the same conversations about the same things. And so it's interesting to bring in new people and or people that we don't see as often and talk about what's going on in their life. It adds vibrance. It adds life to the event. So when you're having your party, have have guests that mix someone who's a technical person, a technical tradesman. Have a few of those people, and then have a few artists. Um, have a few free thinkers, and have a few uh, intellectuals. Uh, there can be uh, fun and respect in learning about other people's perspectives, especially if temperaments are complementary or um, positively affecting of one another. And wonderful, wonderful. Okay, this has to, like I said, this has to sweat down. Hey, I'm sorry about this back burner when I cook. That's a particular that there's a vent in which when I'm cooking in the oven, that heat comes out of this particular. There, I don't know who designed this stove, but the heat comes particularly from the vent in this iron up into the vent when so that's and in doing so it gets every once in a while it gets gunky and I gotta like go after it and scrub it down, but that one stays gunky. you know it's a from the elements whatever I cook or whatever. I don't know. uh, okay. um, there's not really going to be a need to finish this portion of the video tonight because what's going to happen is this is just going to cook down. When it's done, I'm going to remove it from the heat, let it cool, put it in a container, and then uh, keep it cooled in the refrigerator until I'm ready uh, to do the kale part. And it's going to be great. It's going to be like a nice uh, stewed kale. So with some of the, I was saying some of the milkiness, I haven't even added cream to this yet. Do you know what I mean? I may add a little bit of sausage, may add a little bit of cream, a little bit of a, brothiness to it. But the whole idea is to make a good flavorful, there are variations of this, but I wanted something really hearty. So I want these potatoes to stay firm. So I left them large. But if I were to cut this into smaller bits, maybe add a little bit of bacon, a little bit of sausage, bits of chicken, whatever. You make variations on this. You can even make a soup out of it. Olive Garden has something with similar flavors, zuppa toscana. This is not a traditional zuppa toscana or an Italian potato soup, um, or but it's going to borrow heavily from that flavor. But because of the kale, it's where I got the idea to add kale with potatoes. They get really they work really well together. So, but anyway, that's the end of this video. I love you. Love and light. Bon appetit. And good night.